Happy Wednesday, everybody. Pastor Dan here. I am joined by Curt Raleigh. Curt, say hi to everybody.
Hello, everybody.
For anyone who doesn't already know, we have a congregational meeting coming up later this month on May 23rd. And one of the things we're doing at that meeting is we are going to be voting to elect new members of council. And Curt is our new nominee for Assistant Moderator. So I want to take a couple minutes here in the first forward to let the people get to know you a little bit, Curt, and hear about you and your heart for our church and all that sort of stuff. So to start off, why don't you just tell us a little bit about yourself and how long you've been around Brockport First Baptist?
Okay, so it's always a little challenging to talk about yourself, but I was born and raised in Brockport. I was the youngest of 6 kids. I went through the Brockport school system, and I actually did my undergrad and postgrad work at Brockport State. Then I moved into the city when I started working at Kodak. I've been at Kodak for 33 years as both a supervisor and an engineer. And about 29 years ago, pretty soon coming up here on 29 years, I married my best friend. And then we're so blessed to have my other 3 best friends. I have a 26-year-old Tom, a 24-year-old Josh, and a 23-year-old Claire, and just love them to pieces.
Yeah, awesome kids and awesome family. I can vouch for that for sure. And you've been how long have you been connected to our church? Like, are you lifetime or something?
Yeah. I was born into the Brockport First Baptist. My grandparents were there, and as far as I know, my grandparents' grandparents were there.
That's
awesome.
Awesome.
I would sort of characterize my journey at First Baptist into 2 phases. I was dedicated as a baby. I got baptized with Robin Donahue and many of the children of current members of our church when I was 11 or 12. So I guess that makes me something around a 44, 45-year member. But then in my late teens and into my early 20s, I sort of went into the desert. I never lost my faith. I prayed a lot, and I still read scripture, but I wasn't going to church a whole lot. And then 2 very important things happened in my mid to late 20s. The first was I had kids, and all of a sudden it hit me that I was responsible for helping them come to an understanding of the pure love that was in their life. And I knew I couldn't do that by myself. And Joanne and I started a journey. We went to a lot of different types of churches in the city and in the Greece area, and we just weren't finding anything that felt right. And then the second important thing happened. I lost my dad, and I needed to start getting out to Brockport more often to see my mom, who was so instrumental in my faith. I can't even describe that. And we came to First Baptist, and I'm telling you, Thomas Wolfe was wrong. You can go home again. I mean, it was instantly a feeling of love and acceptance, and it's just amazing. So,
awesome. Yep. That's really cool. That's a great story. That's awesome that history that you bring with you, and that's so many folks in our church who have been lifelong members. It's going back multiple generations. It's really cool. It's part of the awesome thing about getting to pastor this church is just all the history here.
Cool.
Now, you are a nominee for assistant moderator. What does the assistant moderator do?
Well, I want to start with what I'm not going to do, and that's I'm not going to carry Jim's clubs around the golf course.
Yeah. I'm sure he would like that, but he'll probably be disappointed. So
he's a much better golfer than me, so I probably would learn a lot from doing that. So I think most folks know this, but our church isn't run by the pastor. Our church is run by the congregation. All of us have a responsibility to the church, and the council is the governing body of the church. But even in the council, there needs to be someone who's coordinating and organizing the council minutes and meetings, and that's the moderator. And I know I've got a lot to learn, and I'm thrilled to have at least a year as assistant moderator because I know we've had unbelievable moderators in the past, people like Jim and Luann and so many other people that are still in our congregation. And I have a lot to learn, but I know there's more to it. But I know it'll be my responsibility a year from now to take over that moderator role. And I hope and pray with all my heart I can do a good job.
Oh yeah, I have no doubt you're going to be awesome. So, but no, that's excellent. One last question for you, Curt. What when you think about our church, when you think about the future of our church, what are some of your hopes, some of your dreams for Brockport First Baptist?
Well, so there's really sort of three things. You asked me to talk about one, but I'm going to go for three here. One thing that's very important to me, and I guess it won't be a surprise given my history with the church, is I feel so strongly we need to honor our past, and we need to honor the people who have gotten us here. I mean, our church is 7 by 70, million years old. You know where I'm going.
For a while. Yep.
And it's a loving church, but the trick is going to be, how do we honor our past and take care of the people who got us here, but not get so stuck in our traditions that we don't see the forest, through the trees, and what God's calling us to do in today's. And that will lead me into my second thing. I'm going to share a personal story that hopefully will make my point. When Joanne and I went to get married, we went through pre-Cana. Joanne wanted to get married in the Catholic tradition, and we went all the way through pre-Cana. It was an eye-opening experience for a kid that was, raised as a Baptist. But at the very end, we had to meet with the priest. And I knew this was coming, and I honestly thought about lying, but I decided in the moment that it came that I couldn't lie. And he basically said, he started off with, "What's your address?" And Joanne gave him her address. And then he said, "What's your address?" And I gave him the same address because she and I were living together. And he closed his book and he said, "Why do you want to get married? Why do you think you need to be married? You're already acting like you're married." And I was hurt to the deepest parts of my core. Yeah. Because even though I knew, he must be a good person, he gave up his whole life to love Christ. But what he did in that moment was he was the church closing the book on me. And I can't ever be part of that. I can't ever be part of a situation. You've described to us before in worship that there are teenagers who are homosexual that have been shut out of churches. I can't be part of a Black person coming into a predominantly white church and not feeling like they're accepted for who they are. We have to figure out how to be open and loving to everybody that comes in. And it's not just Dan Brockway, it's every person. One person says a judgmental or contrary to love statement, and it hurts forever. And we got to figure out a way that we're all doing that. Yeah. So that's the last. And then the last thing, and I told you I'm a little loquacious. You got me reading this Moltmann book, and the guy is blowing my mind with stuff. But
do you have the book there that I'm having?
I do, actually. I do.
Awesome.
He talks in this book about the paradigms of the church, and he talks about, it used to be hierarchical and then it went to Christocentric, and he talks that the church today is charismatic, where the Spirit is what's calling people into the church. And it makes sense, right? Because the government isn't doing anything to help out churches for good reasons in some cases, the separation of church and state. But the media isn't helping churches, but it's people's consciences that are bringing them into the church if they come at all. And what he talks about in there, and I don't know if it's going to happen in my lifetime or even your lifetime, Dan, but he talks about heading towards this Trinitarian unity where, God, the Father, the Son, and the Spirit are all working together and dwelling in the church and letting the church truly be what, Paul talks about in Romans and Corinthians about body of Christ with many parts and everybody having the opportunity to share their gifts. And that's what I want to be part of. I want to be part of a church where everybody knows that they're gifts, whether they're, obvious gifts or quiet gifts, that they're valued, that they have an opportunity to be shared in, and that people feel like that this is a place that they can do that with open hearts and open minds.
That is awesome. That's a really beautiful vision of what the church is supposed to be. I love that, man. That's great. Well, Curt, thank you so much for joining me. Everyone, thanks for watching. Just another reminder, May 23rd, couple Sundays from now, if you're a member of the church, you'll get to vote on our nominees. And even if you're not a member, you can still come, be part of the discussion, be part of the church business, see how that all works. It'll be a really good time. Hope to see many of you there. And Curt, I know I'll be seeing you there. So take care. Thanks again. Grace and peace, everybody.